I need to input the numbers of grid lines along the x-axis, y-axis, and z-axis with respect to their spacing along the x-axis, y-axis, and z-axis. And to know this, I need to go to my structural layout to determine the numbers of grid lines I'll have along the x-axis with respect to their spacing. So let me open the DWG file. You see the DWG file in the attached folder. Open it and you see something like this. You see something like this in the attached folder, which is DWG file. And this is outlined for the purpose of the SAP modeling. To know the grid lines along the x-axis, we need to determine the numbers of grid lines here, and along the z-axis, we need to determine the numbers of grid lines here. So let me explain this to you. Please note that on the floor plan, this is our x-axis and this is our y-axis, while on the elevation plan, this is our x-axis and this is our y-axis, our z-axis, sorry. So let me count now. The numbers of grid lines along the x-axis now is 15, and along the z-axis we have 5. Also, these are the spacing along the x-axis, and the spacing along the along the z-axis is this. Now let's go back to the SAP. The numbers of grid lines along the x-axis is 15, and the y-axis is actually this. Don't forget, this is the y-axis, and I want to determine the spacing from one truss to another now. So the spacing from one truss to another along the along the y-axis is 6 meters, and I've explained this in the manual analysis and design. So here the spacing, the numbers of grid lines, let me first determine it. So 1, 2, 3, 5, and let me use 7. Let me use 7 as the numbers of grid lines along the x-axis, along the y-axis, sorry, 7. So the number of grid lines along the z-axis is actually 5. So the spacing along the x-axis are these are the spacing. So these are the spacing along the x-axis, and if I will need to input all this spacing, that means I will first input the initial spacing, and the initial spacing can be in any number value. For example, let me use 3 meters, and the spacing along the y-axis is 6. I told you that is spacing from one truss to another. The spacing along the z-axis is constant, and that is 0.750. You can see it from here now. Along the z-axis, 0.750. Please, these coordinates can be best understand if you know what global coordinate is, and you can check our YouTube channel what global coordinate is there. And also, once I set this thing, I will show you the global coordinate system here and how to follow it. So we'll be making use of that coordinate system as we are proceeding on this modeling of the structure. So along this z-axis, we have a spacing of 0.750. So this, you can leave it like that. I'll click OK. So this is what I have, and this is a 3D. Now I told you along the x-axis that I will need to input a random spacing of 3 meters. So this is the random spacing of 3 meters. To suit the spacing I have here, I need to edit to suit all this spacing. I need to edit this from here. Now to do that, I will need to right click on this working area, and I will left click on this edit grid data. So after that, I will click on modify / show system. Now this is the x-axis, and the spacing I have there is this. So I've copied it out from somewhere, which I have it already. So I will just copy all this spacing now. I'll copy all this spacing now. Copy. So don't forget 0 is the last value here, and to ensure we have the 0 here, you need to change this to spacing. So if you are using ordinate system, the 0 will be at the first step, at the first stage, but if you are using spacing, it will be at the last stage. So, and if you are using ordinate system, that is 3 will be added to the previous value. So if you are using spacing, it will be at the actual value, at the actual interval value. So now I will need to highlight all these values, and I will input this by just click on paste. Put it by just click on paste. So I have it here now, and this is there, and this is also okay. So I can now click OK, and let's see what we have. So now I want to work with the elevation plan, that is the X and Z axis. So I need to choose to X and Z axis here. So this is it now. This is what I need, and this is the grid line based on what I have in the structural layout. So after this, the next thing to do is to define our materials and section property.